Greetings, viewers. Some of you might remember way back in August, I recorded this video entitled A Cavalcade of Camcorders Part 2. Now, there were a number of cameras in this video, as the title would suggest. A couple of SVHSC, a couple of VHSC, a single high 8, and a couple of video 8 cameras. One of them was the one I'm using right now, which is the SharpView Cam VLE620. But one of them was this. You can see right here, a Samsung MyCam, model SCK70. Here it is in the flesh, and the problem with this camera is that it would not power on. You plug in a battery or a power supply. In my case, I was using a power supply since I don't really have any. It probably wasn't this one exactly, but I've got several of these that are basically exactly the same power supply. People ask me about these all the time. What power supply should I use for my Sony, Samsung, Nikon, whatever? And they're all basically just the same cameras that use the same type of battery. And there are a couple different models. This one in particular is a model ACV25C. ACV30, ACV35, ACV25, a couple of other different brands, whatever. They're all pretty much the same thing. But, you plug in your power supply and the camera is completely comatose. I figured it out by disassembling the camera that there are two pico fuses, and one of the two pico fuses had blown. Now, there are any number of reasons for something like this to happen. It could be that there is an electronic fault on the camera itself. It could be that somebody used an inappropriate power supply. But really, the fault cause is not particularly determinable unless you replace the pico fuse and try to power it up again. Well, to buy the pico fuse, you've got to buy about $100 worth of the pico fuse. And I'm not doing that just to replace one pico fuse. So I did the next best thing, and the thing that you are not supposed to do, and I took some solder and bridged over the pico fuse. And now the camera works just fine, obviously because you're seeing this video. If we go ahead and plug it in, assuming that I can, I might have to do this off camera. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that off camera. See, we've plugged it in here, and if I turn it on into camera mode, you can see that it is doing something. It's not in focus, unfortunately. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. But the camera itself is working. So that much has been figured out. Now, it remains, of course, to be seen whether or not the tape basket works. Because just because you've fixed it doesn't mean that you've fixed all of its problems. And I am pleased to report to all of you that yes, indeed, the tape basket works. I did have to modify the basket a little bit because for whatever reason it was getting stuck on the bottom. So what I did is I just chewed off. There used to be a lip underneath where it says 8mm video camera. I chewed that out, and now it opens and closes just fine if you do it properly without issue. So, another thing that it of course has is it's got the video light, which you can see there. I'm not sure why it's got this pattern on the front, just that it does. Or maybe the video light doesn't work. Huh. Maybe it only works when the camera's recording. It's got 3 pins, so I wouldn't be surprised. Either way, you can see a picture there now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and switch over to this camera and see what it can do. So I'll be right back, thanks to the magic of videotape. Okay. Looks like we are now recording successfully on this Samsung MyCam model SCK70 that I've freshly repaired. I don't think the date and timestamp stuff is working. I wasn't able to actually set it, and I can't touch it now because the camera is recording. I wonder if maybe that's because it does not have a working CR2025 battery. It may not even have one at all. And if it does have one, it's certainly dead. Here's a look at the zoom, which is really slow. It's all the way in. There is, of course, no image stabilizer. Well, there's a DSE button. I don't know what that does. Let me hit it and see what happens. I guess that's digital effects, because I have Art 1, Art 2, black and white, ECF1, ECF2, and nothing else. So I don't really know what that did. I couldn't see anything in the viewfinder. There's backlight compensation. I guess you have to press and hold. I don't know. And a couple of different auto exposure modes. Sports mode, portrait mode, high-speed shutter mode, and that's it. Back to automatic. It does have a titler. I'm not sure if I can actually use it. I might give that a try. I think it's a manual titler. Yeah, there you go, manual titler. Turn it on and off. It's just a shame I can't actually set the date and time. It is Y2K compliant in that I've got a 4-digit year, so at least there is one thing. There's just one other thing that this camera has that we can test out, and that's the video light. So I have to go find it and plug it in. Okay, I'll come down here where it's a little dark. I have the light plugged in now. It has 3 pins. I'm not really sure why it's got 3, since it seems to only draw power. It's a little halogen spotlight. The camera does not have any idea that it's plugged in. I'll go ahead and remove it here. Well, I've already showed it. It's got a weird pattern in the plastic on the front. You can hot plug it, I guess, and the camera won't care. Doesn't seem to really matter. So, anyway, I think that's pretty much it. The camera seems to work, so that's nice. Yet another Video 8 camera in the arsenal. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. I did want to do one more thing with this Samsung camera, which for whatever reason, even after I've put a CMOS battery in it, I guess it's not really a CMOS battery, but a backup battery, it still will not let me set the date and time. I don't know why. But I wanted to compare it to this RCA Pro 843, because as you can see superficially, they look like exactly the same camera. I mean, there's a slight different cosmetic to the two of them, but the controls are pretty much exactly the same. The arrangement's different down here, and the this camera does not actually have the VCR record button. I think it might... No, it looks like it's got exactly the same scene selections. And of course, instead of a focus ring down here, this one's got an actual focus ring around the side. So a slight different aesthetic. This one's got an accessory shoe as opposed to this. But otherwise, they're pretty much the same camera. So I just thought that was fairly interesting.